everybody, I'm in Mitla in Oaxaca. This is one of the most important sites of the Zapotec and the Mixtec peoples.
Mitla is one of the most well-preserved sites of the Oaxaca Valley. Its original name, Mictlan, means place of the dead. It is noted for its amazing mosaic work and geometrical designs decorating the interiors and exteriors of the structures at the site. It was inhabited as long ago as 900 BC, and the buildings at Mitla were constructed starting in 100 AD, the city reaching its peak size and complexity of architecture from around 750 AD, and was inhabited through 1500 AD. Though primarily a Zapotec city, at the time of Spanish conquest, it was a thriving and functioning Mixtec city, the Mixtec culture being in the middle of assimilating a weakened Zapotec empire.
And who were the Zapotecs? Well, they might have been the first people to build cities on this part of the world. Contemporary, a little bit to the Olmecs, around the same period, maybe about 1000 BC, they started gathering together in settlements and building ceremonial centers such as this. They developed a hieroglyphic language, a calendar, a numerical system that predates the much more popular and well-known pictographic language of the Maya.
Mitla is one of the pre-Columbian Mexican sites that stresses death to be the most important part of life after birth. For me, the most important things in life are ample and perky tits, crack cocaine, and the joy of ignorance that lies behind an affluent upper-middle-class child's smile, and their vacant eyes as they float their way through an autopilot life of privilege of getting every single present they ask for at Christmas. But that's just me. I'm no Zapotec. I'm a middle-class kid. Mitla was built to be a gateway to the underworld, and it is believed that people buried there became cloud people in the afterlife. As a Zapotec city, it was part of the seat of power that was centralized in Monte Alban. The Zapotecs thrived in the Oaxaca Valley from as far back as 1500 BC, where they founded their city of San Luis Mojote. That's a modern name. We don't know what it was called back then. And they ruled the valley right up until Spanish conquest in 1521. At the time of Spanish arrival, Mitla was well into a period of immigration and mutual assimilation into the Mixtec culture. The Mixtecs were the rulers of an area that is now the Mexican state of Guerrero and were at times rivals and trading partners to the Zapotec. During the period of Aztec conquest, the Mixtecs suffered great defeats and many emigrated to the Oaxaca Valley and took rule over some Zapotec cities like Mitla. They had a different system of writing than the Zapotecs and some different deities as well. So the preserved parts of Mitla that still survive to this day represent that time period of Zapotec and Mixtec integration.
And these guys built some of the oldest and most populated city centers, well, the most populated and the oldest city centers of the Central American, Central Mexican, Mesoamerican Valley. They survived and they thrived here well into the time of Spanish conquest, and it was only until the conquistadors arrived and took over their cities that their reign finally came to an end. And now I'm standing in the ruins of Mitla in what is also the city of Mitla, where descendants of those indigenous still live to this day. And the Spanish basically took all the stone of this massive city and used it to build their church, their structures, their buildings. So not much remains except for this little bit of this ceremonial center here.
Though many Zapotec cities were built on the mountaintops, Mitla stands out as it was built on the valley floor. It was built much more to be a comfortable place of residence rather than a magnificent administrative and temple complex with strategic military purpose, an advantageous location like nearby Monte Alban. Much of Mitla was destroyed by the Spanish. What remains are a few palaces, temples, and residencies. Mitla is distinctive for its use of columns, amazing mosaics, frescoes, and friezes. The main and still surviving temple was a temple devoted to death, and there are numerous burials and tombs of Zapotec and Mixtec nobles at the site.
This is a temple of death, death being the second most important thing in the Zapotec life, being second only to birth. So this temple was dedicated to the afterlife, to the underworld. We're standing on top of a massive funerary complex. This is just the top. There are giant subterranean basements and tombs underneath all of these structures. A massive underground city that we can no longer enter due to the fact that so many shithead tourists graffitied, ruined, or took a crap in.
Fitting for a city dedicated to the underworld, it could very well be that there is a second city underneath Mitla, an underworld mirror to the above-ground temples. There is a vast and extensive network of tunnels that stretch all through Mitla itself and outside of the city's boundary. Some of the temples contain massive hollow voids underneath them that are nearly as large as the temples above. And sonar and radiometrics have detected altars, temples, and tunnels underneath Mitla going as far as 100 feet deep. And as that's as far as the instruments can detect, the underground network of Mitla could descend even further than our techie sci-fi instruments can register. Also, these tunnels could have very well been constructed by a people who came before the Zapotecs. Until we get down there, it's anyone's guess what it all is.
But this, like all, serves ultimately one and only one purpose for this modern world. And that is as an ideal location for your Instagram influencer selfie. As you can see, tens of people taking such photos behind me right now. I like the graffiti that says, "Don't do graffiti." It's etched into stone saying, "Don't etch your name into the stone." As always, I'm here doing this to dispel those common myths among the average United States citizen that the Americas were inhabited nothing by no one but just a disparate people living in teepees, living off the land, barely able to speak, write, or do anything like that, when in fact this continent was covered. Every inch was covered by cities, and these cities thrived up until our ancestors' arrival. This place was in its prime in the 1500s when the Spaniards arrived. And did our ancestors see this place as a place of value, of cultural significance? No, they saw this as a place to be conquered. They enslaved the indigenous, and they basically forced them into Catholicism. And when they were realizing they couldn't maintain a strong enough hold on these peoples, they had to destroy everything. So it was something around 1530, 1560 that the Catholic Archbishop of Oaxaca ordered this city dismantled and destroyed in an effort to erase these people's memories, their culture, their stories. But they survive to this day, numbering somewhere around 400,000 people living in Mexico and in California. Their language is still surviving and thriving. Their culture still exists.
Mitla came to a sad end. The Zapotecs and Mixtecs held out well against the conquering Aztec Empire, surviving and maintaining a great deal of independence, but were handily weakened and were required to tithe to the Aztec Empire. This weakened state made for easy conquest by the Spanish Empire in 1521.
No matter how much we try, no matter how much we try to spread our idiocy all over this planet, places like Mitla still survives, still thrives. The language, the culture, the people, despite our best efforts, are still here. And it's only a matter of time before they reclaim their lands and we go the way of the dodo.
Entertainment.